too tall for the pic. Hi guys, I'm Richard and this is Overtino, and today we're going to be travelling to Osaka in Japan. Today we arrived in Osaka from Hiroshima, and before that we were in Seoul in South Korea. And it's been pretty whirlwind so far. We've gone through all these different places and things that we've seen. We've been getting up for early flights and bus tours and things like that. We finally got here where we're going to be for a couple of nights so we can settle a bit before we head on to Kyoto and Mount Fuji and Tokyo beyond that. So we checked into the hotel here. We've been given these nice traditional Japanese clothing pieces to wear. And we've just been to the castle, which I'll put a little montage of that over. And we got some nice little street food on the way back that I'll show too. So here we are arriving at Osaka Castle. Now, if you've been following the series so far, you might have seen that we got a little glimpse of Hiroshima Castle while we were there. There are quite a few castles in Japan that are similar, but Osaka is rated as one of the top ones, so we wanted to take a closer look at this one. So as you might expect, the castle sits within the middle of the site, and it's surrounded by quite a large garden, which has a couple of moats, and there's different bridges and shrines and things to see, so we'll take a look around as we head towards the centre. That gives you a little glimpse of the castle grounds, but let's take a closer look at the actual castle itself. Now, it's worth mentioning that it's completely free to come to the grounds of the castle and to get up close and see it in person. You don't need to pay anything. You can pay a little bit if you want to go inside the castle and see more. However, I think the most impressive part is the outside. All the details and the bits of gold everywhere is incredible. So if you're travelling on a budget or if you're time constrained, I think there's plenty to do to just come see the ground, see the castle up close, and then move on to the other things in Osaka. We visited at the back end of the cherry blossom season, so we saw a couple of cherry blossoms, and the gardens were still incredible and peaceful to walk around. So imagine if you went at peak cherry blossom season. I'm sure it would be 10 times better. We did spend a fair amount of time at the castle, but I've compacted it down for the video. You could probably spend a whole day walking around the grounds of it and taking it in if you wanted to, but we're here for 48 hours in Osaka, so let's get on to the next things and try and get everything into this one video. On the way back from the castle, we came across a stall that was selling what became one of our favourite little snacks of the trip, and it was a little sweet potato pancake kind of thing in the shape of a fish. A little bit unusual, but cheap and very tasty to grab and go when you're on the move, which we were quite a lot. This is our room here in Osaka. I don't know how well you can see it on the front camera, but it's quite nice, and we've got a decent view out of the window as well, with some nice street art down there. So we're just getting ready, and then we're gonna head down to Dotonbori, which is a bridge across the river down there, all neon signs on the walls. We've just finished getting ready, and now we're gonna set off to Dotonbori. Let's go. So this is the side of Japan that I've been really looking forward to seeing. All of the neon signs and the 3D advertising boards and things like that by the water at night. It's such a contrast from seeing the castle and the temples and shrines in the daytime, and shows the two different sides to Japan that make it such a unique place. You can really see the Western influence here. It feels a lot like Times Square, but with an Asian twist, and for me it's the perfect mashup between the Asian and the Western feel. I absolutely love it. There are all sorts of different shops here. You can get souvenirs, go to arcades, there's restaurants and bars as well. So let's take a look around. There are so many things to choose from to eat, and we went for a curry, an Indian place that actually wasn't great at all, so I won't include the name of that one. But we did go for a nice drink afterwards at this other restaurant that you can see on the screen now. We found all different types of snacks and souvenirs in the different shops and vending machines. There was Mario, Pokemon, and every type of flavour of Kit Kat that you can imagine, and even more. This whole area really is one place in Japan that you have to come to and experience. Even though it's quite busy, there's a lot of people there. We didn't really queue up for anything. We went in a few shops and bought things, and we just went straight to the till and paid. And now we're going to head back along the river. We'll get the iconic picture with the Running Man, and then we'll head to the hotel where I'll be booking something for us to do tomorrow. Now, with a lot of things in Japan, it's best to book it way in advance for your trip. However, it is possible to have some luck with last-minute cancellations, and that's just what happened for us with the Pokemon Cafe in Osaka. There are a few of these around Japan, and they all tend to get booked up months in advance. But there are late cancellations, and luckily I managed to grab one of the slots the night before we went. So make sure to stick around for the second half of the video if you want to see how we got on at the Pokemon Cafe. On our second day in Osaka, we went to Universal Studios for the day. Now, I've already done a full video of this on my channel. We go to Super Nintendo World, we see Hogwarts, and we visit the park. So if you want to check that one out and see the full details, check out my previous video. And if you didn't already know, this video is part of a wider series where we've travelled across Korea. We've seen the DMZ at the North Korean border, we've been to Seoul, we've then come to Japan, we've seen Hiroshima, we're now in Osaka, and then we're going to continue on to see Kyoto, Mount Fuji, and Tokyo. So if that's something you'd be interested in, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos. And if you've enjoyed this one, please drop a like. But for now, let's get back to the video. It's another new morning, and we're on our way to the Pokemon Cafe for breakfast. We're travelling there on the underground, which is something that we've used a few times, and it's relatively easy. Everything's colour-coded, even though it's in Japanese, it's fairly simple to navigate your way around. The Pokemon Cafe is inside a Pokemon Center in a shopping mall, and the mall is very westernised all in all, very much like a European or American mall, of course with the exception of having this amazing Pokemon Center. Each Pokemon Center in Japan has a different statue or statues at the entrance of the store. This specific one had the 3 legendary birds at the main entrance and then some smaller Pokemon off to the side. But of course the main reason we're here is for the Pokemon Cafe, which only a few of the stores have. We arrived a little bit before our booking slot, and we waited a few minutes, but we were then pretty quickly shown to our table and given menus. I didn't have much expectation going to the Pokemon Cafe, to be honest. We just went there for some breakfast, and I was really into Pokemon as a kid, so I thought it'd be kind of cool to see it since there was a slot available. There wasn't a whole lot for vegetarians, so bear that in mind if you're thinking of going. But we ordered some pancakes, and they're actually really nice. They were in the shape of a Pikachu, and like I said, we were sort of going for the gimmick, but they were pretty tasty. Jade had a hot drink where you can choose a Pokemon stencil on top of it, and I had a Gengar smoothie. And there are all sorts of other Pokemon themed meals that you can get while you're there. The detail even goes down to Pokemon themed spoons. Now, we wanted to make the most of our time in Osaka, so we had our breakfast and we were looking to head out of the Pokemon Cafe. However, the staff stopped us and said they had a special guest on the way. And that special guest was Chef Pikachu. Now, they actually stopped a few other people from leaving as well before Chef Pikachu came out. The other people that were trying to leave was also a group of adults, so it's quite funny that they wanted us to stay for this, so it's clearly for the kids. And they did this big reveal of Pikachu behind the whiteboard before pulling it back to reveal him, and he sang a couple of songs for everybody. It was quite funny, but mainly if you're there with family or children, it's probably best. So just something to consider if you're planning on booking to go there and you're in a rush. It's going to look quite rude if you leave before the surprise Pokemon comes out at the end of the meal. In fact, they might not even let you leave at all, like what happened with us. After Pikachu finished his performance, we did manage to make our way out through the gift shop. We didn't buy anything, but I think they do have some specific merch just for the Pokemon Cafe. But I'm all Pokemon'd out for now, so let's move on because we've still got a couple of bits left to see in Osaka, including one of my favourite shrines, probably my favourite shrine from the whole trip. And it's located back near the Dotonbori area that we went to last night, so we got a little glimpse of that in the daytime before we finally got to see the Namba Yasaka shrine, which is a giant head, which is supposed to resemble a lion or a dragon. Personally, I think it looks more like a dragon, but let me know what you think. And this sits within its own grounds. It's a little bit hidden away even though it's close to Dotonbori, but it's well worth a visit, something that's totally different from anything else that I've seen before. It has a small temple beside it, and you can write your own well wishes and leave them at the temple. We didn't spend too long at this shrine or temple, but it was well worth the visit. Once again, this is another thing that you can turn up and see completely for free. And something that is quite unique for Osaka. I didn't see anything else like this on the trip. And this leaves us with just one final area in Osaka to see before we move on. So from here we hopped in a taxi because we didn't have much time, and we took a very short and cheap trip to Tsudenkaku Tower. Hopefully I've pronounced that right, I gave it my best shot. But as always, I'll put the name on screen. Now, from the pictures that I'd seen online, this area looked a lot like Dotonbori, but it had a totally different vibe. It felt almost like a parody of the other place, and it weirdly reminded me of like a seaside town from the UK, kind of like Blackpool, if you know what that is in the UK. So for those who don't, basically a much cheaper sort of arcade kind of area. Nevertheless, we had a look around and we got some food while we were there. It was cool to see the tower, but as for the rest of it, you're probably better off just staying in Dotonbori, to be honest. The restaurant seemed much nicer over there, and the shops sell pretty much the same sort of thing. If you've got enough time, I suppose it is worth visiting, and there is one little thing that we found that made the trip even more worthwhile. And it was a small shrine of a little Buddha that you could rub its belly for good luck. So, of course, I gave it a go. All in all, Osaka is a must-do if you're visiting Japan. You've seen all of the stuff that we managed to fit into 48 hours, and it was a real struggle to cut it down for this video. So if you enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. And next up, we're heading to Kyoto, which is going to be another incredible video. And there's still loads of amazing stuff to come from the trip, so here's a little sneak peek of future episodes. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and a comment down below. If you want to keep up with the rest of the series, make sure you subscribe, and you should be able to watch one or two of the videos somewhere on the screen here, or maybe over here. And until then, see you next time.